Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about the Earfun Air Pro 2 true wireless earbuds, which have their work cut out for them as the market is getting extremely competitive at around the $80 price point, and that's exactly where you can find the Air Pro 2. So let's see if the buds are good enough to succeed or not. Quick spoiler, yes, they are. But first of all, let me tell you that I got the buds from Earfun for this review, but no money exchanged hands, and they can only see this video at the same time as you guys. I only share my own experience with you in the next couple of minutes, and no one had any influence on what I'm going to say about the buds. With that out of the way, let's start with the design of the earbuds. If you have a look at the previous model, the original Earfun Air Pro, then you can see that the second generation got a complete redesign. I somewhat prefer the old model when it comes to their look and style, but I really like the high level of build quality and the sleek two-tone finish of the new buds. The Air Pro and the Air Pro 2 are roughly the same size, but the 2s weigh in at around 5.5 grams each, which is half a gram lighter than their predecessor. I found the fit and the comfort very good with the Air Pro 2. They sit securely in my ears, no hot spots, no pressure buildup, nothing like that. And they don't move around at all either, so the snug fit and the IPX5 rating can make them a good option for workouts, as they are sweat and rainproof. You get 6 sets of ear tips in the box, and you also get a cleaning stick, which can come in handy if you want to keep the charging contacts or your speaker protectors nice and clean. There is a USB-C cable in the box, but the case can be charged wirelessly too, and that's something you couldn't do with the previous model. And that just shows how tough the competition is below $100, as more and more manufacturers are trying to add these features which used to belong in the higher end segment of the true wireless earbuds market. So the case is Qi wireless compatible now, but other than that it's basically the same plain looking black plastic case as before. The lid opens and closes firmly, the buds are securely held inside by magnets, but nothing outstanding there. The total battery life has gone up to 35 hours from 32 hours in the previous model with ANC turned off, and we get an extra 5 hours of use with ANC turned on as well. But the buds themselves will only last around 6 hours instead of 7 with ANC on, and there is even a bigger drop in playtime if you turn off the active noise cancelling. So the Air Pro 2 has smaller batteries in each bud, and that's where the lower weight probably comes from. You might think it's a step back, but I personally don't mind the slightly shorter single charge runtime, as the total battery life is still better, and now we have wireless charging as well, so I'm totally fine with making that compromise. And we got an upgrade from Bluetooth 5.0 to 5.2 in the Air Pro 2, and that means a stable connection, a good range and quick pairing. All we get is SBC and AAC as far as audio codecs are concerned, so no aptX, which can be found on the Soundpeats H1 or the Tribit Flybuds C1 for example. Watching movies is free from any lag, but playing games is only okay if you are a casual player and you don't need the lowest latency possible, as the Earfun buds do not get a dedicated gaming mode like the Soundpeats H1 or the Soundcore Live P3. However, we get single bud mode, and switching between the buds is smooth. There is no multi-point support, but no other earbuds in this price bracket can offer you that feature anyway.
Thanks to the 3 microphones on each bud, phone calls have exceptional clarity in a quiet environment. If there is noise in the background, then the clarity of my voice suffers a bit, but it's still clear and loud enough so it remains relatively easy to understand.
I criticized the Earfun Air Pro for their touch controls, as I did not find them responsive enough. Now, this issue has been fixed on the Air Pro 2, as the controls are quite easy to use, they are quicker to react and accurate enough too. These are still not the fastest reacting touch controls I've ever used, but there is definitely an improvement over the previous generation. And we get full functionality, as we can use the touch-sensitive interface at the circular top of each stem to control play, pause, volume, tracks, phone calls, the voice assistant and the 3 different ambient modes. We also get in-ear sensors, so the buds will automatically pause playback when you take one or both of them out of your ears, and they will resume playback immediately when you put the buds back in. So the actual controls are good, but there is no smartphone app, which means no custom settings and no extra features other than the active noise cancellation. And there are 3 different ANC modes. You can toggle through ANC on, ANC off and ambient sound using the touch controls, same as on the previous model. And I really like the active noise cancelling performance of the original Air Pro, but the Air Pro 2 turns the ANC up a notch, or I should rather say it turns everything down a little. The difference becomes quite obvious with low frequency rumbles as we get significantly less of those, so traffic and transportation noise is much lower with the new buds. We don't get such a huge improvement in terms of taming higher pitch noises, but ambient chatter is filtered out to a higher extent for sure. I couldn't really hear much of a difference in their ambient modes, but that was good enough already on the first gen Air Pro, and now wind noise is less of an issue thanks to the Quiet Smart 2.0 and its anti-wind noise algorithm on the Air Pro 2. And the improved ANC performance is good enough to match the great active noise cancelling feature of the Soundcore Live P3. I mean, maybe the Live P3 can handle high frequencies a touch better, but the noise cancelling performance of the 2 buds is very similar. The ambient mode is a bit stronger and more intense on the Air Pro 2, but wind noise is managed equally well by both buds. Of course, there is the Soundcore smartphone app with multiple ANC modes and settings, so the Live P3 still has the edge overall. And I have to mention that I got more or less a perfect fit and an extremely effective passive noise isolation with the P3, and that probably contributes to their great ANC performance as well. So your mileage with these buds might vary as always. Moving on to sound quality, the original Air Pro came with 10mm composite drivers, and Earfun did not change the size of their new drivers, but they threw titanium in the mix quite literally, so now we get a 10mm titanium composite dynamic driver in each bud. And the sound has changed a bit too. The lower registers still have quite a good kick, but the bass is not as overly dominant as it used to be. At the same time, the mids got a bit more forward, and that makes the overall sound signature more balanced, which is more to my liking. Bass heads might not be as happy as I am with these changes though. The highs are just as detailed as before, and the tendency for them to get a bit too bright is still there, but that is only a minor issue and it only presents itself at or close to full volume. I cannot really hear any substantial improvement in spaciousness, imaging or separation, but again the whole frequency range is more balanced now than it was before, and that in itself is a win for me. And I also prefer this sound to the bass heavy, sometimes boomy sound of the Soundcore Live P3. If you like more bass, then the P3 is a better option for you, no doubt, but I find it a bit overwhelming at times, and there is this unfortunate shift in sound when you toggle through the different ambient modes. The sound of the Air Pro 2 is consistent across all ANC modes, but the Soundcore app has one of the best EQ features on the market with loads of presets and custom options. And since we are talking about the app, there are other features too, such as a game mode switch, remappable controls, a tip fit test and firmware updates. And that's all missing from the Air Pro 2. But the touch controls themselves work better on the Earfun, and the Soundcore buds do not have in-ear sensors for autoplay pause. Other than these, there is not much difference between the 2 buds. Their design, weight, size are all very similar to each other. I find both of them comfortable, and as I said, the P3 fits in my ears kind of perfectly, but the Air Pro 2 are very snug and secure too. Both have IPX5 rating, both are Qi wireless compatible, and their battery life is almost identical too. They use the same audio codecs and offer the same connection features, but the Air Pro 2 uses Bluetooth 5.2 instead of the older 5.0, which you can find on board of the Live P3. The one major difference again is the app support of the Soundcore buds, which is the one thing I really miss from the Air Pro 2. Comparing the earphones quickly to the Tribit Flybuds C1 and the Soundpeats H1, the first thing you will realize that neither of these 2 earbuds have active noise cancellation, and that puts them at a disadvantage from the get-go. But they can make up for the lack of ANC with better battery life, even though the C1 does not have wireless charging support. Both the C1 and the H1 can offer more advanced audio codecs and a better gaming experience. I prefer the touch controls on the Earfun Air Pro 2, and neither the C1 nor the H1 have in-ear sensors for autoplay pause. In terms of sound, the Soundpeats H1 has a darker sound signature with loads of bass, recessed mids and detailed but not too overly excited highs. Instrument separation and imaging are best on these buds. The Flybuds C1 shows more similarities to the sound of the Air Pro 2, as the bass is less prominent and it's more in balance with the mids. Vocals have a great presence, but the highs can get a bit more excited depending on what you are listening to. All three buds are IPX5 rated, but I found the earphones the most comfortable in my ears. The Soundpeats and the Tribit buds do not have a companion app similarly to the Air Pro 2. I'm also going to review the One More Color Buds 2 soon, so I'm not quite ready to give you a detailed comparison yet, but what the One More buds have for sure is ANC, wireless charging, aptX adaptive, an IPX5 rating, and again, a smartphone app. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss that review. So after having a quick glance at the competition, I can safely say that the Earfun Air Pro 2 is a solid contender for $80 or euros. Compared to the previous generation, the earbuds improved in areas where they really had to in order to keep up with the latest offerings from others on the market. Wireless charging, active noise cancelling, touch controls and sound quality are all great, and they are up there with the best in terms of ANC performance. With a smartphone app I could easily announce them as class leading, but if you don't need such a feature, then these buds are still one of the best options for the money. And that was my review of the Earfun Air Pro 2 earbuds. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Comments are welcome as always. Thank you for watching. See you next time.